Welcome to the Ontario Mortgage and Real Estate Insights podcast, your go-to source for the latest developments, trends, and regulatory changes in the industry. I'm your host, Steve Hamoan, here to provide you with insights sourced from reputable news outlets to help you stay informed and make well-informed decisions. This podcast is brought to you by Real Approved Inc., a trusted mortgage brokerage dedicated to helping Canadians achieve their homeownership dreams. Visit realapproved.ca to learn more about how their experienced team can assist you with your mortgage needs. Let's dive into today's episode. Today, we're discussing the anxiety that's rattling the Toronto area real estate market. The tentative recovery we were seeing has hit a snag as listings surge and buyers pull back. John Passalis, president of Realosophy Realty, attributes much of this uncertainty to U.S. President Donald Trump's threat of imposing hefty tariffs on imports from Canada. He notes, the sellers are there, but the buyers are on the sidelines. It's leading to a very sluggish market, and now we have this massive cloud of uncertainty. According to the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, sales in the Greater Toronto Area fell 8.9% in January compared to the same month last year, while active listings ballooned 70% from January 2024. Economist Darren King of National Bank of Canada provides some context, noting that sales in January increased 10% compared with December on a seasonally adjusted basis. This came after an 18.2% dive in December from November. King mentions that the cumulative fall in interest rates has prompted many sellers to list their homes, hoping for a good year for the housing market. New listings soared 26% from December to January, reaching their highest level since March 2021. Active listings swelled by 10.5% during the month, reaching their highest level since January 2009. Yet, with these looser market conditions, prices remained flat month to month. John Passalis highlights that while buyers began returning to the market in greater numbers in October and November to take advantage of a decline in interest rates, the optimism was tempered. Many anticipated a busy spring market with potential price increases. However, Passalis himself predicted only a slight uptick in the spring, not a strong rebound. Interestingly, the upcoming provincial election in Ontario and a possible federal election in the spring don't seem to be causing much concern among market participants. Passalis emphasizes that the tensions in the United States are the main cause of worry. He advises sellers to remain realistic and patient, noting, even if you're priced well, it will take longer. In January, about 25% of homes in the low-rise segment in the Greater Toronto Area sold above asking. Typically, these are starter homes in desirable neighborhoods, where listing agents set eye-catching asking prices. However, buyers aren't bidding aggressively. Passalis points out, yes, they're selling over asking, but the agent priced it low and they end up selling for close to what they're worth. During the heated market of 2 years ago, 80% of homes in the same segment were selling above asking. Passalis doesn't foresee a return to the days of homes drawing 20 offers and selling for insane prices anytime soon. He notes that risks, such as buyers of newly completed condo units having trouble obtaining financing, have been overshadowed by Trump's return to office. Real estate agent Pritesh Parekh from Century 21 Legacy LLT observes that the optimism among buyers at the start of January has shifted to uneasiness due to the tariff situation. He shares that while buyers were feeling hopeful with spring on the horizon and interest rates trending downward, the tariff fight has infused the market with anxiety. Parekh hears questions like, what does this mean to me? Does it mean anything at all? Beyond the tariff discussions, Parekh notes that buyers were already cautious due to new rules that came into effect in December. These rules allow buyers in the $1 million to $1.5 million range to qualify for an insured mortgage with a down payment of less than 20%. Despite sharing this news with clients, Parekh finds little interest. The policy benefits only a small pool of buyers who lack a substantial down payment, yet have sufficient income for the monthly payments. Parekh believes that the discipline buyers are showing is partly due to the rapid rise in interest rates after the Bank of Canada began tightening in March 2022. That instilled some alarm in people, and they remember that anything can happen, he says. Finally, Senior economist Farah Omran at Bank of Nova Scotia notes that uncertainty remains a constant in economic forecasts. In 2024, she observed that sales across the country experienced fluctuations, ultimately balancing out. For the most part, the national housing market stayed in balanced territory with stable prices. Omran predicts continued unpredictability in 2025, heavily influenced by the scope, timing, and permanency of tariffs, as well as Canada's response strategy. Liberal leadership candidate Chrystia Freeland is centering her campaign on housing affordability, a pressing issue for many Canadians. Her proposals focus on income tax cuts for the middle class and a goods and services tax exemption on new homes for first-time buyers. These measures aim to alleviate the financial burden on Canadians grappling with high housing costs, rising interest rates, and inflation. Freeland, who previously served as federal finance minister, has outlined a plan to reduce the second income tax bracket from 20.5% to 19% for Canadians earning between $57,375 and $114,750. This change would save qualifying taxpayers up to $550 annually. Additionally, she proposes eliminating the goods and services tax on new homes for first-time buyers, potentially saving them up to $75,000 on properties worth $1.5 million or less. This initiative is designed to reduce upfront costs for young Canadians entering the housing market. A November report from Statistics Canada highlights that 45% of Canadians are very concerned about housing affordability due to increasing home prices and rental costs. The issue is also a significant focus for other leadership candidates. For example, Karina Gould, another Liberal contender, has put forward a three-part housing plan to tackle homelessness, increase housing supply, and support first-time buyers. Her proposals include revamping the first-time home buyer incentive by increasing the government's contribution toward down payments from 10% to 50%. Gould also pledges a $2,000 tax credit to offset provincial land transfer taxes for first-time buyers and supports the construction of climate-resilient modular homes to expand affordable housing options. Meanwhile, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has also prioritized housing, proposing to eliminate the federal sales tax on new homes priced up to $1 million, urging provincial governments to follow suit. The Conservative plan estimates a savings of $50,000 for homebuyers at this price point. Beyond housing, Freeland's platform includes capping credit card interest rates at 15%, with a long-term goal of reducing it to 10%. She also intends to limit profit margins on essential grocery items, citing the unaffordability of food for many Canadians. This proposal echoes a similar plan from NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, who advocated for federal intervention in essential goods pricing. Freeland's leadership bid follows her resignation from cabinet in December, where she clashed with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau over affordability measures. She criticized Trudeau's proposed goods and services tax holiday and $250 rebate checks for working Canadians, dismissing them as costly political gimmicks with minimal long-term impact. Her departure, coupled with growing dissatisfaction within the Liberal Party, led to Trudeau's announcement to step down as leader. The Liberal leadership race is set to conclude on March 9th, with Freeland and Gould trailing behind frontrunner Mark Carney. As the race heats up, housing affordability remains a pivotal issue that candidates are addressing with varying strategies to appeal to Canadian voters. Today we're delving into the ongoing tariff discussions and the potential impact on interest rates in Canada. With the United States posing a tariff threat, financial institutions are recalibrating their expectations for monetary policy in the coming year. Recently, former President Donald Trump signed executive orders to impose a 25% tariff on all steel and aluminum imports into the United States starting March 12th. He has also threatened to extend these tariffs to all Canadian imports, including lumber, while energy imports will face a 10% tariff starting March 4th. This has created a volatile climate reminiscent of his previous term, leaving Canadian financial markets in a state of uncertainty. At the last policy meeting in January, the Bank of Canada cut interest rates for the sixth consecutive time, bringing the benchmark rate down to 3%. Tiff Macklem, the central bank's chief, highlighted the economic consequences of prolonged trade disputes, acknowledging that monetary policy alone can't mitigate all potential fallout. Macklem stated, "The reality is the economy is going to work less efficiently. Canada's going to produce less. It's going to earn less. Monetary policy can't change that." The rate cuts are intended to provide a modest cushion for the economy against the tariff impacts. With inflation hovering around the 2% target, the central bank is better positioned to offer economic stability, though it faces the challenge of balancing weaker output with potential inflationary pressures. In the political sphere, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his Liberal government have assured the public that Ottawa is prepared for retaliatory tariffs. However, after achieving a last-minute agreement, the response was postponed for 30 days, delaying a full-blown trade war until March 4th. Trudeau has committed to implementing his $1.3 billion plan outlined in December, along with new initiatives such as appointing a fentanyl czar and designating cartels as terrorist organizations. Economists are debating whether the central bank can do more. The National Bank of Canada suggests that there is a strong case for emergency rate cuts totaling 100 basis points, which would bring the policy rate down to 2.25% by spring. According to National Bank economist Tyler Schleich, while not in recession, Canada's GDP growth has been below potential for some time, and thus will need a period of GDP growth to run above potential to return the economy to its equilibrium. The forecast anticipates a year of the policy rate at 2.25%, after which the Bank of Canada could return the rate to a neutral stance of 2.75% once economic conditions improve. Looking ahead, there's a mixed outlook on whether interest rates could rise. The National Bank is alone among major financial institutions in projecting rate hikes next year. Scotiabank foresees a sustained 3% policy rate through 2025 and 2026, while other banks like BMO, CIBC, Royal Bank, and TD expect continued rate cuts. BMO, for instance, forecasts the possibility of the Bank of Canada reducing the policy rate to 1.5% by year-end if the United States enacts trade levies against Canada. BMO economist Michael Gregory commented, "If tariffs are actually put in place, then minus 150 basis points enters the realm of possibilities again." David Alexandre Brassard, CPA Canada's chief economist, describes the situation as a challenging balancing act. Brassard notes, "If Canada retaliates to inflict economic damage on American businesses in the hopes of the U.S. lifting the tariffs faster, it would also hurt Canadian consumers." This balancing act between economic growth, inflationary pressures, and trade retaliation presents a significant challenge for policymakers. Tariff-induced price inflation could prompt many to anticipate rising interest rates, though the inflation dynamics differ between push cost, where businesses' higher input costs lead to higher consumer prices, and demand pull, where demand outstrips supply. As for mortgage rates, with the Bank of Canada in an easing cycle, they've been gradually decreasing. According to the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, the conventional 5-year mortgage lending rate was 5.35% in December 2024, down from 6.39% in December 2023. These rates are influenced by the benchmark 5- and 10-year government bond yields, currently trading at around 2.65 and 2.97%, respectively. As investors anticipate further rate cuts, bond yields are expected to fall, which could lower mortgage rates further. However, whether this will stimulate demand and affect home prices remains uncertain. The economic landscape will undoubtedly face numerous variables in the months ahead, including the ongoing USMCA negotiations, the successor to NAFTA. Indeed, these are tariffing times. In today's segment, we're turning our attention to the bond market, where Canada's 10-year government bond yield has tracked the United States yields higher. As of February 12, 2025, the yield has climbed above 3.2%, marking a rebound from a 4-month low of 2.95% on February 5th. This shift can be attributed to stronger than expected inflation data from the United States, which has dampened hopes for rate cuts by the United States Federal Reserve this year, subsequently driving United States Treasury yields higher. The hawkish outlook in the United States, coupled with robust domestic labor data in Canada, has reduced the urgency for the Bank of Canada to implement further rate cuts. In January, Canada's unemployment rate unexpectedly fell to 6.6% from 6.7% in December, defying forecasts of an increase to 6.8%. This development has eased some concerns previously flagged by the Bank of Canada about the labor market's health. However, trade tensions with the United States continue to weigh heavily on Canada's economic outlook. While there was a temporary reprieve after Prime Minister Justin Trudeau secured a 30-day pause on the 25% United States tariffs on Canadian goods, the situation remains precarious. President Donald Trump's imposition of new tariffs on aluminum and steel, along with broader reciprocal levies, has intensified the pressure on the Bank of Canada to counter potential economic headwinds. The current landscape presents a complex scenario for policymakers, who must navigate these economic challenges carefully. With the interplay between international trade dynamics and domestic economic indicators, the path forward remains uncertain. As always, we'll continue to monitor these developments closely and keep you informed with the latest insights.